Hello, it's Film Frenzy, and today I'm going to be doing a bit of a different video. And this video is kind of more like a video essay where I break down the reasons why the Marvel Cinematic Universe is so much more successful than the DC Cinematic Universe, and I'm going to talk about 5 explicit reasons. First off, I'm going to be discussing the simplest of them. Marvel Cinematic Universe started long before the DC one did. So I'm starting off this video with the most obvious of the choices. Marvel Cinematic Universe started in 2008 with Iron Man. DC Universe started in 2013 with The Man of Steel. So that's a big 5-year gap, and those 5 years are instrumental. It might not seem like much, but the MCU was a trendsetter. It was really the first actual cinematic universe. Sure, there were anthology series, and there were series that got spin-offs and stuff, but this was the one that was really building it all together and had a master plan. And so many series followed suit. Take, for example, the DC Cinematic Universe, which kind of maybe people thought looked like a little bit of a copy of it. And then there's the X-Men one that has New Mutants coming out soon, and like Logan and Deadpool, all those movies. Or the Monsters universe, which kind of failed and that just had The Mummy with Tom Cruise in it. So that's going forward. Anything that's a first is going to be more successful, generally speaking, than ones that follow after it. Plus, take for instance the years and the gaps between movies. Iron Man and Incredible Hulk came out in 2008. That's already 2 movies in the first year. Sure, one of them wasn't that good, but Iron Man was awesome. Yes, there was a gap between 2008 and 2010. There was no movie in 2009. So far, that's the only year since the MCU started there hasn't been an MCU movie. But they came back in 2010 with Iron Man 2, which, no, it's not the best one, but still a solid movie. 2011 had 2 more. 2012 had Avengers, of course. And then the DC Universe. 2013, you have Man of Steel. That was a pretty big movie. Then you take a full 3 years. That's a problem to get this movie made, Batman v Superman, and it's not even that good. That's a big problem. Yes, there were 2 movies that year, Suicide Squad also, but the DC Universe feels like it's constantly in limbo, taking too much time between movies. There was Wonder Woman and Justice League in 2017. This year, now there's only 1 movie coming out, and that's in December. There's Aquaman, and next year there's like Wonder Woman and Shazam, but the schedule's constantly in limbo, so that kind of ties together with the MCU starting first. So it's that the MCU kind of has better scheduling than the DC Universe, and it felt like the DC Universe kind of just tried to start up, and that will lead into my next reason, which is that the DC Universe tried to move things along too quickly, while the Marvel Cinematic Universe tried to build up characters before combining them for Avengers. I know for a fact that the original Avengers movie was one of the biggest moments in just geeking out in movie history. It sent chills down all the audience's members when they saw their favorite heroes finally teaming up. You'd already seen a Thor movie, a Captain America movie, an Iron Man movie, and an Incredible Hulk movie, albeit that was with Edward Norton, not Mark Ruffalo. But when these 4 characters, plus 2 new additions, Hawkeye and Black Widow, combined for an awesome movie, even though it's not my favorite MCU movie, it was still just such a big moment in movie history. The biggest superhero team-up of all time. DC didn't really feel like that. Their second movie already had the 3 biggest DC heroes all combining, which were Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. So that's kind of like a little anticlimactic. And then the next year, you're ready to go into your Justice League movie. So they didn't have that slow build-up, that built anticipation for the big team-up movie that Marvel had. Marvel had Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, and Captain America going into Avengers. That was their final film in their first phase. It was well planned out, kind of ties in with the first reason that Marvel Cinematic Universe is way more well planned out than the DC one. DC definitely did feel like it's like, oh my god, Marvel's has this brilliant plan, we need to try to come up with something quick. But it wasn't designed by a mastermind like Kevin Feige, so that's the problem. And now I'm going to talk about my third reason. Reason 3 explores the MCU's penchant for exploring very unique tones and genres for comic book movies. So with those 2 movies, first off, Guardians of the Galaxy has just a very unique tone for any comic book movie. Yes, it came out a year after the DC Cinematic Universe started, but it was the first really like superhero movie to have this crazy oddball comedy, and it was like a space opera. DC hasn't done that really. They tried with Green Lantern to make a space opera, but that didn't work at all. It didn't have the great humor that James Gunn had for Guardians of the Galaxy, so that further established the Marvel brand, branching it out, and they explored so many tones with like Thor Ragnarok. Iron Man had like kind of like this kind of dark humor tone, and that was a really just a groundbreaking movie, the original Iron Man. Again, we go back to that one, because that was like one of the first superhero movies that really had a lot of comedy, but like kind of this darker feel, this more modern feel. It had a very complex character, which I'll talk about later in this video, but that was really important. Plus, genres-wise, yes, the DC Universe has explored a little bit more genres. Suicide Squad's kind of a comedy, but it's not a good one. And Wonder Woman is a very good movie. It's a very good, like, kind of old-fashioned war movie, except Marvel Cinematic Universe already had one in Captain America the First Avenger, which I showed earlier. That's a old-fashioned, fun World War II movie, and Wonder Woman kind of gets its template from that, and they're both great movies, but MCU did it first, and then they explored other ones, like Spider-Man Homecoming, which is a coming-of-age movie, Thor Ragnarok, which is crazy comedy, Guardians of the Galaxy, which is like a dramedy, Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is a heist movie, and so many more. So the MCU kind of just branches out and gets more unique with both tone and genre that are just, you don't see as much in classic superhero movies, while DC Universe establishes this really nice tone with Man of Steel, which I absolutely love that movie. But then it goes nowhere and just uses the same tone for Batman v Superman, and it just doesn't feel fresh at all. Suicide Squad has a mix of that tone with like some comedy, but just feels kind of like a muddled mess. And Justice League is kind of also in the Suicide Squad category, although it is a lot better, but it tries to mix in humor and drama, and it doesn't really work altogether, so DC struggles with tone, MCU excels. Reason 4 also relates to Freshness and how the MCU had a clean slate with lots of their characters, while the DC Universe had tons of reboots before it. Did you catch all those movie Batmans? There's a crap ton of Batman movies around. The 66 Adam West one, all those animated ones, the 4 from the late 80s and 90s, the 3 Dark Knight trilogy movies, then there's actually like the Batman v Superman, so they're really like trying to take these new renditions of characters, and oftentimes they can't get past the old renditions, and they get constantly judged compared to them. Like Superman, everybody's like, oh yeah, it's not as good as Christopher Reeve, or I don't like it as much as Brandon Routh in Superman Returns. These are such famous characters. Well, lots of times the MCU, yes, it hurts sometimes with box office when they're trying to introduce these new characters that nobody's heard of, but lots of times they had a clean slate. I know it's hard to think about, but Iron Man wasn't the most famous superhero back in the day. He wasn't even that famous at all, so they had a clean slate when they were having Robert Downey Jr. play Iron Man for the first time on screen. Same thing with Paul Rudd and Ant-Man, all the Guardians of the Galaxies. These are not super famous comic book characters. I mean, they are for some of the like comic book like lovers out there, but for the general public, not so much. So this clean slate is just really great because they get to develop the characters better, and they don't get constantly compared to older movies. And this better character development makes it easier for this, which I'll talk about in my 5th and final reason, which is that the Marvel Cinematic Universe created much more fully realized and relatable characters. Captain America is my favorite superhero of all time, and I never read the comic books. My reason is because of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Chris Evans' portrayal, and all the great screenwriters that wrote amazing dialogue and fully developed Cap's character. So he's this morally just astute character who just is super patriotic, always wants to do the right thing, and they really just show that great in the first Avenger on how he's just a good guy. He wants to help. He's tough as nails even though he's small, and you just feel for him and you're always on his side. You feel like he's the underdog even when he becomes the massive like muscular Chris Evans after the serum goes in him, and they really just get you on his side. They do that with all the characters. Captain America particularly stuck with me, and then they make it more complex as the movies progress, like with the Winter Soldier or the Civil War, with how the government, there's there's a political intrigue and stuff, and you don't know who's right or who's bad. And Captain America, sometimes he has to betray the government because he knows what's the right thing to do. They create a more complex character than I feel like any of the DC's characters. Yes, they're starting to make DC characters a little bit more relatable with like Ezra Miller's Flash, and I think that next year's Shazam is going to be great. He looks like a really awesome character. Zachary Levi and Billy Batson. I'm really excited for their portrayal of the older and younger versions respectively. And so DC is making the right foot forward, but I feel like MCU still does it way better. Like Peter Quill, Star-Lord, he's this amazing character who he's done some terrible things, but you feel for him. He has this great backstory, and it doesn't really feel as contrived as some of the DC ones. Like, this kind of goes hand in hand with like DC characters being repetitive, but when you saw the backstory of Batman in Batman v Superman, it didn't really pull any emotional strings because you'd seen it 5 times already. That hurts the DC universe, and it makes the characters not as relatable. I think they do a decent job with Batman, but he's kind of just a little dull and bland. And then Superman, I don't know what the hell they did with him. Henry Cavill's a great actor, but they make him just feel just so like kind of like not very hopeful, which is the whole point of Superman. And he just kind of dulls and just like walks around and stuff, and that's not good at all. They did a great job with Wonder Woman, I'm not gonna lie there, but I feel like their characters are usually just more one note and not as multidimensional as lots of the Marvel ones. And for the last time, it goes back to Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal is amazing. It's almost like he's playing himself, how he recovered from like the drug addiction and he returned to being a huge movie star, just like how Iron Man redeems himself and like he stops being a weapons dealer and he becomes this great hero. All these origin stories are amazing, even though there's so many of them and they get a little repetitive. I don't care. I love all the origins, and I love how they just keep on progressing the characters after each movie. Even the Hulk, who I felt like was never really got enough character development, he has this like recent 3-part arc that I'm loving. It started with Thor Ragnarok, now it's going in Avengers Infinity War, and it's going to finish with Avengers 4. So they're establishing every character really good, and I absolutely love that. So, well, that wraps up my 5 main reasons. I know there's many more why the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been so much more successful than the DC one. Comment down below your opinions on this matter, and also comment if you want to see more video essays like this. This was very fun to make. I hope you enjoy it. Like and subscribe for more awesome film content. More coming soon. See you guys later from Film Frenzy. Bye.